Hello everyone, this is legendary Scarybob Miloš Zaman back at it again, and today we are doing another tier list. This time we're doing Dexter's characters. I just finished the 8th season of Dexter, the whole show, and I actually really enjoyed it. Despite it having some bad moments, like the ending was unsatisfying, 8th season was pretty bad overall, but still it was enjoyable some parts. Season 6 was quite boring and I did not like it, but otherwise I thought the show was phenomenal, and yeah, I just loved it. The characters and then just the moments, everything, villains, Dexter's moments as well, like his character evolving, the chemistry with his sister and stuff like that. So let's start, guys. I haven't watched Dexter New Blood. I'm planning to, but apparently the ending there is also pretty bad, but I heard that the show overall is good. So let's start with Angel Batista. I mean, there's nothing else that needs to be said, but he's S tier. I mean, he's probably the most likable character in the show. He's just so great to everybody. He's phenomenal. His actor is pretty solid. His character had some tough moments but kept going through it, and even at the end he's still the nicest guy ever and impossible to dislike. This one, I was confused. Was this the one that was with La Guerta, like one of the earlier seasons, as a lieutenant? Maybe. I know that she was in season 8, so it's either that she came back or this was a completely new character that looks similar. But either way, she's kind of meh. Maybe even D. I mean, it depends. If it is her from the earlier seasons, then maybe C. But I don't think it's her, so I'm gonna put him D. Put her D. Okay, I think this guy was called Diggle. I don't know, John or some shit. He was actually quite likable. He was, yeah, a good guy. He was a good boyfriend to Deborah, and yeah, it's kind of unfortunate what happened, like with him breaking up and stuff, and he had to go through some trauma. But he was actually a good character, also a good actor. He also plays, I don't know, Oliver's friend in Arrow, so it's a very good actor and stuff. Okay, this one, Arlene, I think. I mean, I don't really care about her, to be honest. I'm gonna put her at D. I mean, she was kinda a big part with like all the Hannah stuff, but also not so much. Like, she wasn't that important, and she did not have a lot of screen time, and I don't know, I did not really like her. Okay, Astor, right? Yeah, I was remembering her name. Astor, maybe C. I know that she's Rita's daughter, but she was pretty much just annoying almost through the whole show. She was annoying and just, yeah. It's kind of unfortunate in a way that Astor and Cody got like moved to another place with their grandparents pretty much after Rita's death the whole time, because it took away that big part of what could have been like Dexter having to take care of them and fit his life into that. But I guess he still had Harrison to deal with, so yeah. But she was mostly annoying, but of course she's a child. This guy was actually, I mean, he was a side villain kinda. Let me think. Which season? I think, yeah, it was season 5, I think. I think he was one of Jordan Chase's friends, but he was generally pretty interesting, I gotta be honest. He was pretty damn interesting. Like, he had some moments with Dexter, and he was one of those more memorable people of the Jordan Chase's group. Brian Mosler. Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best villains, honestly. He's phenomenal actor. It was very interesting, the dynamic with Dexter. Super interesting. And yeah, I feel like they could have kept him around longer. Spoiler for the books a bit. In the first book, the end of the first book, he, instead of killing him, he kind of just runs away, Brian, but Dexter does not kill him. And I'm reading the 5th book now, and he actually comes back in the 5th book. I was wondering if he would, because he did not die. But yeah, it makes for something very interesting, so I'm gonna keep reading that. But yeah, it's unfortunate they did not keep him around longer, but he was a very, very interesting character, and one of the reasons why season 1 was one of my favorite seasons. This guy, father, I forgot his name. I just know that he's a father, and he was a criminal before. I thought he remained a criminal and was just like pretending, but he actually ended up being a really good guy. It was actually quite sad, his death. Really actually sad. And I gotta be honest, he had a great dynamic, some great conversations with Dexter, and gave him a more moral side, more human side. So yeah, this one, oh, that's the lady that worked with some papers and stuff that helped Dexter to figure out more about like his mother and stuff. I think she was actually really nice. I'm also gonna put her in B. Wasn't the most interesting character, but she was very nice and kind of important in some ways, and her death was also pretty sad. Cassie? I don't give an F about Cassie. No offense. Like, straight up, I don't care. Oh, okay. I thought, who is this? I can't see his face fully, but that's the big guy from season 2, I think. Maybe it's C as well. Wasn't anything phenomenal, but he was just huge and muscular, so he gave Dexter some problems, but also because Dexter was just not in the right state of mind at season 2. Who is this? I don't actually remember who this is. Oh, Dieter, easy. Hannah's father was such a piece of, not gonna call him a piece of, okay, whatever. But he's, I don't really want to swear, but he was just terrible, annoying, just an actual terrible human being, and that's all you need to know. Cody, well, wasn't too important, did not have a lot of screen times, but I'm gonna put him in B tier because he was a lot more likable than Astor, at least. This guy from the last season, let me think. Genuinely, he's one of the less interesting villains of the whole series, I'd say, but one of the more threatening ones. Like, he presented Dexter a lot of issues, actually. I mean, part of it was because Dr. Vogel kind of changed Dexter's mind a lot on what he should do to this guy, but otherwise he was actually very smart. He was a true psychopath, no emotions, and he actually did some horrible things. At the start it was kind of a mystery. I'm actually gonna give him B tier. I don't think he was that bad. Not that interesting, but he was a big threat, and in a way that made him interesting at moments. And he actually had significant impact as well. Deborah Morgan. Yeah, I don't know if I'm putting them in correct order. I'm kind of doing it randomly, but there's not a lot to be said. Like, she was so good. Like, straight up phenomenal, legendary character. I mean, a bit of a hoe maybe at times, but apart from that, like, her character development, she always supported her brother right till the end, and it was so sad what happened to her. Straight up made season 8 terrible. I mean, not made it terrible, but one of the things that I really did not like about it. No need to say anything about Dexter being an S. He's a phenomenal character, actually has a lot of depth, even though at the start it seems like he's just a one-dimensional character without like much emotions or anything, but he actually ends up having them. Dokes, yeah. I actually gotta put Dokes here as well. I mean, I feel like they could have utilized him a lot more, like a lot more, but they did not give him as much like significant screen time, especially with Dexter. The first season he was just mostly kind of bullying Dexter around, but second season he was more of a threat. But still, like those moments when they were alone, when he caught dogs, those were special, but they didn't last long, and his death was underwhelming. So I gotta be honest, they could have done a lot more with him, but he's still a phenomenal character. This one, I remember her face, I don't remember her name or who she was. Oh, this neighbor, the one that tried shit with Rita, and he was annoying. Yeah, D-tier. This guy. I mean, at the start I liked him quite a bit. He seemed like a good guy and everything, but he actually ended up being a complete piece of whatever. So C-tier. Still better than most of these. Kinda interesting in some ways. This guy, oh, Landy, I think I have the first A-tier character. He was actually very, very nice, very interesting, smart. It was a bit weird with Deborah because of the rage factor, but they still ended up being good together, and his death was very, very sad, but he was a phenomenal character. This guy was just, yeah. I mean, he was in some ways interesting as a character, but he was an asshole, pretty much. And he was just, yeah, so annoying, straight up. Like, and him killing Isaac Serco, that was, yeah, I liked Isaac Serco a lot, but his death was, I wasn't a fan of that. Hannah, I thought where would I put her? I thought maybe C tier, but looking at this, I'm actually gonna put her in B tier because she's not worse than some of these characters here. I did not like it, like the whole romance between Dexter and her. It's kind of BS, I think. Season 7 was so good for me, like such a huge bounce back of the show. It was genuinely phenomenal. But yeah, she was probably what ruined it a bit for me because, yeah, especially when Dexter didn't kill her and then they just did some stuff. It was just out of nowhere, and yeah. I don't know. I feel like she ruined a lot of things between Deb and Dexter as well, so. And she can be quite annoying and not a good person. Okay. Harrison. I don't know. I feel like Harrison, even though he hadn't been that long, I feel like he's more important than Cody and Astor, like in the whole show. It kind of feels like that. He had a big impact, even though he didn't do much, so I would put him B tier. Harry. This is an interesting one because he's pretty much just used in flashbacks because he's already dead in the show, but I would still put him A tier, like the flashbacks and also like Dexter imagining him made it quite interesting. I would have liked if Dexter like listened more to him. I mean, I know it's his imagination, but it's like they have their arguments in their imagination, and then Dexter just doesn't care what he says. But it was interesting to see him for sure. Isaac Serco. I gotta put him S tier as well. To be honest, he was so surprising. At the start, he was just a cool villain, like dangerous, smart, and everything. A cool villain. But like he evolved even further. I did not expect him to actually like get in good graces with Dexter and have phenomenal conversations with him and actually make friends, kinda, I would say. And his death was so sad. It's like they could have definitely done more with him, but he was such a good character. Jamie, I mean, Jamie was kind of important. Kind of. She wasn't anything phenomenal, but she was alright. I would put her B tier. This guy, the son of Trinity, I mean, he was like the most important character besides Trinity in that family, and he was kind of interesting in some ways, but yeah, I guess I'm gonna put him B tier as well. I think he was interesting in some ways, and later on he killed, wait, who did he kill? His mother, I think? I don't know, but he was a pretty interesting character. His arguments with his father, yeah. I think that's Jordan Chase. Let me look at B tier again. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put Jordan Chase in A. He wasn't anything like that phenomenal, but he's probably better than almost every character in B tier, if not every character. He actually had a lot of charisma, and he was pretty brutal and stuff, even though he wasn't doing it a lot of the time, but still, like, his methods, his story was interesting, and he was actually pretty solid villain, even though I still think he's one of the weaker villains, because there are a lot of great villains, but he's also pretty good. La Guerta, maybe top of B tier. I wouldn't quite put her 8, or would I? Maybe. That's the question. Maybe I would put her B tier. I mean A tier, sorry. She was quite annoying. She wasn't the best person, best human, but she was interesting. She presented Dexter problems. She had the relationship with Sergeant Dokes. And her not being a great person, cheating and stuff. That kind of made it interesting. I feel like she was an interesting character. I actually gotta put her A tier, even though she wasn't a great human being. And there were moments when I wanted her to die, and eventually she did, but I still feel bad for her. Okay, this... Honestly, I hate her. Honestly, Season 2 is probably one of controversial opinions, but Season 2 is one of my weaker seasons in my opinion. Like, it's not at the top of my list because she was just so annoying. I did not like her at all. I feel like a lot of the things that happened in that season weren't that great. The Dokes things were interesting, but they didn't last long. They were mostly towards the end, so she was like the main focus. She was important, but I hated her. Like, straight up I hated her. Okay, this guy I also hated. I also hated this guy, but in a way he was kind of interesting, with like some causing some trouble for Dexter and sending him the ice truck killers like trophy arm or whatever. Lumen. I thought I would put her at B initially, but after looking at who I put in B, I'm actually gonna put her in A. I think she was definitely one of the more interesting characters. The dynamic with Dexter, where they both started killing together. Her story was interesting, traumatic experiences. She was actually a way better love interest than Hannah. Yeah, pretty much. Who is this? Oh, Marshall dude. He wasn't that important, and he pretty much caused Deborah's death, so D tier. Maybe not as bad as these two. Vince Masuka, I actually kind of like him, not gonna lie. I actually kind of like him. Let's put him B tier. I mean, he's nothing phenomenal, but he actually added some needed humor in the show, and he was a good character, actually. Captain Matthews, I actually don't know about this one. It's kind of hard. I mean, he was annoying, yes. Earlier seasons I wanted him to die. Later, not so much. I actually felt bad for him at moments. He was yeah, I guess he was quite interesting in the show. I would still put him maybe low A, but he was quite interesting and important, and even though I did not like him, he had a lot of great moments. Yeah. Wait. Oh, wait, I put him in the wrong thing. Easy S tier, I think. Like, honestly, one of my favorite antagonists. Like, them clashing with Dexter and just trying to outsmart each other, like, from that friendship, and he outplayed Dexter so early on with that blood. He's honestly one of my favorite characters, and why Season 3 is one of my favorite seasons. Surprisingly, even though it doesn't get a lot of credit. Is that the black guy? I mean, the black Mike or whatever that got shot. He was alright, maybe. I guess bottom B. He was alright. He did his job. He wasn't that unlikable. He was smart, but yeah, he wasn't anything phenomenal. This Nadia, I guess she was one of the more interesting ones, I would say, like out of the women. But I don't know, she was a freaking stripper, I think, yeah, and I did not like Quinn getting with her, and then she just abandoned him after everything he did for her, so I don't know, she was alright. Man, I don't really, maybe, I guess C maybe. She's not like that bad, but I don't care about her, and she wasn't interesting. She did not have a lot of screen time. This guy, I actually did not like him that much, but I mean, he was supposed to be an unlikable character. That's why I disliked him, but he was actually quite interesting. Like him in jail, like Dexter framing him, kinda. It was very, very interesting, that whole thing. That wasn't in the book, and I actually really enjoyed that whole plot that they had in the show. This guy, don't care. I mean, he wasn't even a real person, you know. So but he was more interesting than Travis. But I mean, like, he was just an imaginary thing. Quinn. I'm actually gonna put him 8 here. Honestly, I'm gonna put him 8 here. At the start, I really disliked him. I think he came in on season 3, and I really disliked him. He just seemed like an uninteresting character, unlikable. Kinda came in out of nowhere, and like for 2-3 seasons, I just hated this guy, honestly. But then, like, I mean, he was pretty stupid a lot of the show, but even then, he was a phenomenal character. Like later on, he became quite likable. He actually got along with Dexter finally. Like him and Deborah got along well. I feel like they should have ended up together, like, and living happily ever after, but unfortunate situation, guys. But he actually ended up being really good. I was surprised. I really disliked him at first. This guy, Miguel's brother, he was just annoying. He was stupid and annoying. Put him in C tier. He was entertaining, but yeah, that's about it. This guy, I kind of forgot. I mean, I remember his face, I remember something, but not really much. I don't remember this one. Yeah, she has to go S tier as well. She was honestly one of the nicest people on the show, but she was the best love interest for Dexter. She was just phenomenal. I really cannot say anything. And her acting was good as well. It's just unfortunate that her ending was, so sad. But okay, this one, I remember her face again, but I don't remember who she is. Okay, Skinner, don't care, like, straight up. They tried to make this guy menacing and stuff, but he was a complete side villain, like, which was completely, like, shouldn't it really even have been there? He was uninteresting. There was no point to him, pretty much. And yeah, Sylvia was alright. Like, I'm gonna put her B tier because I think her name is Sylvia. I've got to put her B tier because she actually had a pretty interesting dynamic with her husband and stuff, but apart from that, she wasn't that interesting. But with Miguel, like, the whole family dynamic, him actually starting to do shit and her missing him, thinking he cheated, was actually pretty interesting. This guy is an absolute asshole. Straight up, he's an absolute asshole, but a very interesting asshole. He actually presented a big threat to exposing Dexter, and he was. I'm actually gonna put him low 8 here. I think he was even more interesting than Rita's husband. I thought that he was actually going to expose Dexter. He was very close. And it was very interesting with Quinn. I still disliked Quinn at the time, but he was starting to change, and he would not let go of Quinn. He would not let go of Dexter and just keep on trying to find out information and stuff like that. He was a big threat and really interesting. This guy, put him next to Geller. Don't care. Straight up, probably the worst villain. I mean, the two worst villains maybe, but both of them together, I guess, because they're like he's only imagining this guy. Completely uninteresting. Season 6, in my opinion, is the worst, even despite Season 8 having a terrible ending, a terrible last episode, and some uninteresting episodes as well. But overall, I found it way more enjoyable than Season 6. Trinity, I mean, nothing else needs to be said. Like, probably the best villain. Like the stakes were really high. What he did at the end to Rita, like super interesting between Dexter and him, kind of living together as friends, kind of Dexter pretending, Dexter outsmarting him for almost the whole time, but then a lot of shit happened and eventually he got the better of Dexter, and he was like, his methods of killing were kind of brutal and stuff, but very, very interesting. And he was actually very experienced and stuff and presented a big threat. Dr. Evelyn Volk, I actually think she's maybe top of Beach. I think I found her really interesting, like adding her to that whole situation of how Dexter grew up, how he was raised with the code and everything. That it really made season 6 kind of season 8 kind of interesting, even though it wasn't that great of a season. But I really enjoyed having her, even though she was unlikable most of the time. This guy. Oh, this guy is the guy that killed, then Dexter tried to save him, and then he killed again. Don't care, yeah? Okay, this guy, oh, Zach. I'm actually gonna put him B tier, I don't know, somewhere in the middle. He actually ended up being quite interesting, and at the start it seemed like he was just an asshole who did not listen to Dexter, but he actually wanted to change and wanted to like take up the code as well, and it looked like he was actually going to follow Dexter's footsteps, and his death was actually really sad and kind of out of nowhere with the brain surgeon. So, but he was a good character. Asian woman. Oh, I know her. Yeah, she was just annoying and pointless, chasing after Deb, trying to expose Quinn or some shit. This one, I'm gonna put her B tier maybe. She was one of the more interesting like kills Dexter had, because she was an officer, quite smart, and she has tricked the system multiple times, but she was also a killer. So she actually was pretty interesting, even though she wasn't that important. Okay, yeah, I was right at the start. Let me see, where did I put it? Yeah, this black woman isn't the same as this black woman. I thought it was maybe the same, and she came back. She kind of looks similar, but
what did he say?
Oh, she's actually quite likable, quite solid. Yeah, LaGuerta kind of outplayed her though. What? Oh, I just realized that's the nanny. That's the nanny. My bad. So let's put her in C tier. That's Sylvia. Okay. This is Sylvia. They look so similar. Straight up. Nanny was alright. Wasn't anything too important, but she was a decent character. This guy, I don't remember who he is. I remember his face, but I don't remember who he is. This guy, same situation. This guy, same situation. Oh, okay, this is Rita's mom. C tier, somewhere C tier. She was quite unlikable, but she still took care of the kids and stuff, so she was alright. This guy. Yeah, this guy was pretty great. Honestly, gonna put him in B tier. He was pretty great. Hannah's boyfriend or whatever, ex, and yeah, he actually helped Dexter kind of morally, and then kind of ruined him a bit, because he actually ended up killing himself. He couldn't live with the shit he's done. But yeah, he was interesting. Okay, this guy was some pretender. I don't remember which killer did he pretend to be. The Bay Harbor Butcher, the Trinity Killer? I don't actually remember. He was kinda interesting in some ways. Maybe C tier. He was kinda interesting, but not that interesting. This guy, I remember he did some shit and he was very happy. Oh, okay. I think he was paralyzed or some shit. Like, yeah, he was, unfortunately some shit happened to him. But yeah, he actually ended up being, he was quite joyful, cheerful, I liked him. But he wasn't anything like that phenomenal C tier. Her, I don't really care about, she was alright, so yeah. Let's see. S tier. Yeah, I think all of these characters are phenomenal. These are mostly villains and antagonists. These two just two GOAT family members. GOAT wife, GOAT cop, and then yeah, a lot of other. Actually, the show has a lot of phenomenal and great characters, but also some that I really despised. So this is my list, guys. Thank you for watching. Hit the like, hit subscribe, comment what you agree upon and what you don't, and give some more ideas in the comments for future tier list videos. I'm out.
Alligator. Ja, alligator, alligator. Ja, alligator.